Hi guys, and welcome to the Lonely Catch Up. It's myself, Rampant FM, and I'm joined by Mozza. How are you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. How's you?
Good. We're also joined by Michael Park, the Media and Communications at Geosonic Lowland League and also BSC Glasgow. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm pretty good. Thanks very much for having me on.
Obviously, your first time on the podcast, Michael. I think you're. Can we put you down as co-creator for it as well? You did kind of sort of help.
I'd love to take all the credit because that's the kind of person that I am. But no, I mean, you came to me with the idea and it was something that we'd been kind of batting about and we didn't have, what's the best way to put it, the time to do it ourselves. And then you guys came along and you were like, we could do this. And I was like, oh my God, yes. My people. So it's entirely in your courts. Plus that way, if you get into trouble, I can't take the blame for it.
Fair enough. So obviously, myself and Moz have been discussing every week, our thoughts on teams, thoughts on the league. What are your initial thoughts on the sort of start of the season, on the league? How are things going, basically?
I mean, obviously, there's been some negative sides of things with that's kept us pretty busy with Selkirk and whatnot, which is obviously a pity. But in terms of the actual football, it's been really exciting, and in terms of the sort of engagement that we've had from supporters and people coming completely fresh to the Lowland League, there seems to be a lot of excitement. I think that possibly there's some teams who will be down the bottom end of the table who will feel like they're due a resurgence. There's some teams up the top who are possibly going to get a nosebleed. So it's turning out to be a really exciting start to the season. I mean, we're obviously sort of, well, some teams are 4 games away from it, but some teams are just 2 away from having played a third of the season already. So it's exciting. I'm into it.
Yeah, I mean, you talked obviously about sort of fan engagement and whatnot. Obviously, we're all sort of involved with the media team, and yourself obviously kind of sort of top of it basically. But if anyone was wanting to sort of get involved at sort of Lowland League level or maybe involved with the clubs, is there any advice you can sort of give on how one would sort of go sort of to get involved, if you will?
Absolutely. Probably the most important thing that we have in the Lowland League is volunteers, whether that's like guys like yourselves doing the media team, whether it's people at clubs who run the turnstile, run the tea stand, run absolutely anything on a match day and in between. The one thing that I would say from working in the league and working with a club is these people are the lifeblood of the league and they're what makes it special. With that in mind, if you want to do media for a club and you want to join the Lowland League media team, then come talk to me. You can get me on the Lowland League Twitter, or you can get me on my own Twitter, which I'm sure I'll be able to plug later on before Mozza, hopefully. Or, find my email address on the website and shoot me an email. And even if you want to get involved with a club, I can try and help you and speak to clubs on your behalf and that kind of thing. So it's always my pleasure to get more people involved working with clubs and working with the league because I love it and I really like spreading that joy.
So getting into the games from the weekend then, guys, we should probably start with the featured game from the Lowland League website, which was the University Challenge, the battle between Edinburgh Uni and the University of Stirling, which it turned out to be a little bit more one-sided than we thought. So was a bit of a gap at half time, 5-0 to Stirling, Chris Geddes' men, and Edinburgh salvaged a wee bit of pride in the second half, but ended up 5-1. What are your thoughts on that, guys? Just in terms of, I know we'd kind of build it as a tighter battle than that, and maybe Edinburgh pushing to kind of get in the same level as Stirling again after bragging rights have gone the way of Chris's guys most recently.
Yeah, I think that I was certainly sitting at half time. Obviously, I was at Christy Gillis Park for the civil service BSC game with work, but I was sitting at half time thinking, wow, our first featured match on the Lowland League website, done a big feature on it, and it's going to be a drubbing. And but these things happen, and I think almost like on a league level, it's indicative of how strange it can be in this league, because obviously University of Stirling have not been in great form so far this season. They've been up and down. They've obviously had their own heavy defeat from East Stirlingshire like a few weeks back, and Edinburgh University have looked tight pretty much up until yesterday, and it's always exciting, and I think it's when you go to a game in the Lowland League, you never really know what you're going to get, even if you think you do, which is kind of unfortunate for us, really, because we constantly try and predict these things. But
yeah, I mean, Edinburgh coming off 2 good draws with Kelty and East Kilbride, it was a bit of a shock result. Kieran Hall hat-trick, fantastic. Rory McEwen and Tom Cowley getting the goals for Stirling Uni, and Robbie Sinclair for Edinburgh Uni. I think they can maybe take a positive, the fact that they had a better showing in the second half, but certainly, it's a bit of a shock considering the Edinburgh war coming off them 2 good results against probably 2 of the better sides.
Yeah, absolutely. And then that kind of leads us on nicely to where you were, Michael, with work, like you say. So Christy Gillis, and it was a match between Civil Service and BSC. So obviously you were tweeting away as the game went on from BSC's account, but what were your thoughts on the game itself?
To be honest, there was quite a long time in that game that I thought my heart was going to stop. I think it maybe comes across on our Twitter that obviously like our 2 clubs get along really well, and the games that we play against them are always fantastic. Even if they're not particularly high scoring, they're always really competitive. Civil always battle to the last man for absolutely everything, and quite a lot of the time they have our number. I mean, last season we went there before I'd gone back to BSC, and they sort of put our unbeaten run to an end, and that put us on a slide. And they do often seem to have our number, and it seemed like that might be the way it went yesterday. They were very, very tight. They were very organised. They hit us on the counter, and it was just a wee defensive slip-up, one of those things that that the manager often cites that we have a problem with, and it was a problem last weekend again against University of Stirling. And it was interesting because the first half an hour it was back and forth, it was battling. Their goal felt a wee bit against the run of play in that 5-minute spell, but to be honest, it could have gone either way. It was really exciting.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough loss for Civil, but it really could be a turning point in sort of BSC season. That's a couple of wins in the last few weeks that they've got, and we've got to talk about this penalty for Cammy Muirhead.
I'm not sure that we do. I think we should definitely ignore that forever. I don't want to get myself in trouble.
I thought it was legal. According to the rules, you're not allowed to feint at the end of the run-up. I don't think he fainted, and he continually moved towards the ball. He took the step. The feint was during a step towards the ball, so I think it should have counted. I think they've been very, very unlucky there in terms of the ref, and obviously we've got an interview with Gary Jardine.
John with Gary from Civil Service Strollers. Gary, what was your view on today's match against BSC?
I think, to be fair, our remit at Civil Service Strollers is to continuously improve, and that's what we've done today. We were the better team for large periods. I think we played the game of football we wanted to, but if truth be told, in the end up, I think we got what we deserved. We were slack and sloppy and conceded 2 really poor goals.
Obviously, a controversial moment in the game with the Civil Service penalty that Cammy Muirhead scored but was chopped off by the referee. What was your review on that?
I've spoken to the referee about it, and he's shown me the rules in terms of why he's disallowed it, that there was a feint in the run-up. What I really need to get clarification on is that, are you allowed a feint in the run-up, or is it shouldn't be a goal if it's a feint at the end of the run-up? Now, Cammy fainted in the middle of the run-up and then took another 2 steps and scored. But it doesn't matter if I get the right or wrong of it now. We've lost the game, and to be fair, the goals we conceded, then if you're going to concede chances like that, then you probably deserve to lose, especially when two teams are evenly matched like BSC Glasgow and Civil Service are. I think that if you follow the processes and defend properly, then you give yourself a chance, and I thought that we'd done that for the first 45 minutes and scored a really good goal. In the second 45, it's strange that you always concede when you're most comfortable, and I thought that we didn't look in any danger of losing a goal, and we were sloppy and BSC scored.
Obviously that's the first defeat in the last few months. How did the boys take that?
They're down, and they should be down because they've thrown the game away. But on the up, they need to look at themselves and be proud of kind of a lot of things they've done well. They've come on leaps and bounds in the last 6 months, and if we continue that progression, we'll probably kind of meet our targets come the end of the season.
The thoughts of Gary Jordan on the game and obviously on the penalty. What are your thoughts, Michael, on the decision, out of interest?
Well, first of all, I want to apologise to John Tennant and his mum, because during the game I suggested that he had been the one that had actually given away the penalty. I won't tell you who did, but it wasn't John, and he was worried that he wasn't going to get his dinner last night, so I just want to publicly clarify that I was incorrect on that. The penalty itself was a really confusing one. What the referee had supposedly latterly said was that it is that rule that if you stop in the run-up as you go to hit the ball, then it's an indirect free kick. At the time of the penalty, it looked like, to me, Mark McConnell was going to run, like, judder forward as if he was going to take the penalty instead of Cammy Muirhead, who did take it. And then, for some reason, I thought that's what it had been given for, because he moved forward, and I assumed it was going to be a retake. And then we were given an indirect free kick, and it was very, very confusing. And I think, like, obviously the Civil players and Gary Jordan and everybody weren't best pleased, and I can fully understand why. But it just goes to show that there's such a fine margin in these games that it turned, inside 3 minutes, it turned, and Tam got loose in their box and managed to put the ball away to turn a game that we were expecting our heads to go down probably into a win. It was really strange. But it was, like I say, it was a really exciting game, and I just wanted to say, like, just before half time, there were obviously quite a few penalty shouts in the game. But just before half time, Scott Clapperton put his body on the line for a clearance and had to be hospitalised. I think he got a gashed face, so just all the best to Scott and hope he's back soon.
Yeah, absolutely. It's never nice to see when that happens, so best wishes go out to him. But yeah, just to kind of pick up on that side of things as well, I know we've had a wee bit of a chat about it previously, Rampant, that you've not heard a happy chat from Swifty, Stephen Swift. So I believe we did get a few words courtesy of the main man Michael right here, and let's throw it to what his thoughts were on the game.
What did you think about that? Obviously it was a game we didn't particularly go in as favourites, and we came up on top.
We always knew, we said all week, this is a tough place to come. Over the last year and a half where I've been involved in the Lowland League, we've drew them in the cups and we've played here. I've seen a few games here. They're a team that I really rate highly in the respect that they go and battle every inch of the way. They're well drilled. They fight for their teammates. So we knew what we were coming into, but I thought first half we were really poor in the intensity that we started, and they were a lot better than us. So we had to kind of read the riot act to the boys at half time. And I thought it was a better team that came out second half. Guys upped their game. Adam Strachan upped his game. Thomas Orr upped his game, and we got the rewards because we worked hard. Obviously, for me, I'd be bitterly disappointed if that penalty wasn't given, but that is the new rule. So unfortunately, the referee needs to stick to the rules. The other side of it is, I think we had a a penalty claim myself that got turned down blatantly with a handball. Thomas Orr's one as well. So you look at it and things kind of even itself out, but over the piece I couldn't fault the boys' effort, and if we keep fighting like that then we'll have no worries. But it's a great win, because I don't think many teams will come here, and if they do come here and win, they'll need to battle the way that we did. So
Do you think this could be a sort of new start for us after a sort of underwhelming start to the season?
Aye, but I mean, you look, we've lost 2 games. We've only lost 2 games. East Kilbride and Kelty are 2 favourites in the league. So ultimately, you go like that. There's plenty of teams that are going to lose off East Kilbride and Kelty. So we didn't play well, and like you said, it was kind of underwhelming for how we started last year. But listen, I can't fault the boys' effort second half, and if they give me that, then I'm pretty sure we'll be alright.
So obviously I was at the Kelty Hearts East Stirlingshire game at New Central Park. One thing I've got to say just before we start here, myself and you, Mozza, have obviously discussed the fantastic support Kelty I've had home and away this season. There was a fantastic support from Shire at this game. A lot of noise from the guys, singing and everything, and you don't really get that as much in the Lowland League compared to sort of league football that I've seen anyway, and I thought it was fantastic. It was a decent crowd for the game. Going into the game, obviously, Kelty Hearts won 2-0. It was a tough game, but Kelty Hearts were much the dominant side. They dominated midfield. Their performance, I can't even really pick out one guy that had an off game in the midfield. Ian Nemo, kind of almost like an unsung hero for Kelty a lot of these times. I think he's had more man of the matches than from the supporters than like any other player this season. I might be wrong about that, but certainly he's one of these players. We often talk about goalkeepers and goal scorers, but he's one of these players that puts in a shift every game that you see him in. One thing that was a wee bit different about Kelty in this game that I've seen is the leaders on the field. Murray Carstairs at the back. Kieran Chalmers kind of dropped from his midfield role to centre back again. Elliot Ford was playing at right back, and obviously had the experience of Conrad at left back. But Murray held the line well. He was shouting. It was the same with the likes of Sean Gregg, who was the captain in midfield. We even had the likes of Stuart Cargill up front when Kelty were 2-0 up, funny enough, shouting at Conrad about his positioning. And you didn't get that a lot, a striker shouting to a left back about their positioning. But in terms of the goals, it was Matty Gay, header in the first half, Stuart Cargill from a Conrad Courts free kick. You're going to lay into me, Mozza. Because I actually thought it was Conrad Courts at first, and obviously I've made mistakes with goal scorers before, but if you look at the highlights, I can be forgiven for this. And Gary, I'm sure he won't mind me saying, had to correct himself through the tannoy as well. So it must have been the slightest of touches. But yeah, Kelty, fantastic. I must say though, we were talking about leaders on the fields there. Obviously, I think Shire were missing Dell in the middle. Obviously, he was at the touchline managing the team, and Jamie Barclay. It could have been more. It could have been more than 2-0. Jamie Barclay, the Shire keeper, had a couple of fantastic saves. One of them an absolute worldie in the second half. It's in fairness to Shire, they were missing key defensive players. There's maybe a lack of depth in the squad at the moment, which compared to likes of Kelty and the Sparrans, East Kilbride, it's going to be tough for them. But given the fact that they fought on, it was a dominant performance from Kelty. I think Shire will be all right. I've obviously spoke to some of the Shire fans, and I spoke to the Shire chaplain at half time. I was really expecting Shire to sort of come on, but Kelty were just dominant. They done what they done, and it was a fantastic game. And yeah, overall, it's always great to be at New Central Park, seeing Kelty, and it was just a class performance. They really shout Shire in the final third, giving them very little chances, and it was all due to the fact that they've got leaders on the field and their midfield was so dominant.
Yeah, I was just going to say, obviously, Shire just officially announcing Del Ure and Andy Rogers as their management team this week. So, apart from, obviously, you were saying there was maybe a wee couple of issues with the defensive depth and so on. Overall, did they play pretty well, or was there any noticeable change in the way they were going about things?
Well, that's the thing. I think it was 1-0 at half time, and going into the sort of second half, I spoke to Bill during half time at Shire, and I really did expect, we've obviously talked about Shire's sort of grit and determination and never give up attitude. I think it was a case of the next goal would be important, and I think because it went to Kelty, it's that kind of ended the game for Shire. I think had it been, it was
Right.
they were basically they didn't have many chances. Kelty were on their, we've spoke about it before. Kelty, when they're on their day, they're fantastic. They, like Ross Allam, I don't think had much chance to do anything. Defensively in midfield, Kelty were just absolutely dominant throughout the whole game, in my opinion.
And then the other thing there, Michael will tell you, having seen him in full flow earlier in the season, Jamie Bartley is easily one of the best keepers in this league, I think, as well.
I still have nightmares about Jamie Barclay's ability in goals. It's I wasn't actually at the game at the Falkirk Stadium because I was ill, but from everything that I was told, obviously my boss and Martin, who's our match reporter who does all of our interviews and whatnot, fantastically well, I should add, because I need to bam him up. It's Jamie's performance that night completely changed the result, and from what I've seen, he is absolutely up there as one of the best keepers in the league. He's fantastic.
If you get a chance to see this save, it's if David De Gea had done it, let's put it this way, he would be proud of it. It was an absolute worldie of a save in the second half. Fantastic. He really kept Shire in it, basically. Let's put it that way. All the chances that Kelty had. So obviously we're talking about decent keepers. Blair Carswell, who we spoke about last week as well, was a 50th clean sheet for Spartans over the 1-0 win at Whitehill, which sent them top of the league. They're doing everything right at the moment, Spartans, putting the pressure on Kilby and basically jumping top of the league.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. I know it sounds like a broken record because we seem to say it every week now at this point, but Spartans know how to get it done. They did it all last season. They're against a narrow victory. They've kept a clean sheet, so their defence is still solid. Blair getting his 50th clean sheet, and he's only played something like about 130 games, so he's getting a clean sheet every couple of games, 2 or 3 games, which is just brilliant stats wise. And from everything I've read about it, it sounds like they controlled it overall as well. It could have been more than the one, but it doesn't matter when you've got the 3 points in the bag ultimately. Having said all that though, everything that I've been reading about the game itself as well, it sounds like Welfare are continuing to improve after making their managerial change early on. So it looks like it's had the desired effect for them. They were right in the game and actually fashioned a couple of chances of their own. So it's still sounding pretty decent for them, even though they've lost this particular game. Given that they are at the wrong end of the table just now, and as we've just heard, the 15th place team will be getting relegated. So they've still got to push on and make sure they get up to, really 13th and above to confirm their safety.
Yeah, definitely. Something that's always interested me about Whitehill Welfare, apart from one season, I think, where they finished with either 41 or 39 points, they've finished with 40 points in every Lowland League season. Which I was talking to a Whitehill, I can't remember, it was somebody at the last time I was up at Ferguson Park, and I was chatting away to them about it, and I was like, oh, don't you think that's a funny stat? And they're like, well, not really, because we keep adding more teams to the league, which keeps pushing us further down in terms of the actual points total. I was like, oh well, I suppose that isn't actually that funny, but it always interests me with Whitehill Welfare, because when I first came to work in the Lowland League and work with a club in the Lowland League many moons ago, they were one of the ones that jumped out at me as like this team that should be possibly bigger than they maybe are. I don't know whether, I don't want to do them a disservice, but I think their early season struggles looked like it could be one of those things that they were going to have a tough season, like the kind of season Hoyt had last season, for example. Mm-hmm. But they've definitely shown a lot of steel, and there are a lot of talented players in that side as well. It's not a matter of they're struggling to put a team together that's going to perform. I think it's maybe just coming together at the right time and trying to bring in a few experienced heads that know how to get it done. Like obviously Spartans are able to do every week. They've built on a really strong defence, and I think that's partially why Blair's able to keep as many clean sheets as he does, because that defence is very, very difficult to break down. And I think Whitehill could do, and probably are looking to sort of try and emulate their old rivals as much as they can to get that level of performance on the park. Although I'm sure I'll be really unpopular on the Pie and Bovril thread for Whitehill Welfare for saying that they might want to do that, but, you know.
Just to note, Mozza, Jamie Dishington again. We spoke about him the last couple of episodes. He's got the goal for Spartans, obviously. He's doing bits, mate. Absolutely.
I think we're in danger of people thinking we might know what we're talking about at this point, because the same names keep coming up and they're doing the business. So long may it continue.
I'm seriously considering forcing you to rename the Jamie Dishington fan cast, but
Well, it's kind of similar, obviously. Stephen Froud got Sybil's goal as well, and
yeah, absolutely.
So
always a dangerous player.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's just bitterness. He always scores against BSC. So
another guy who's been brought up in the pod a couple of times now, Dean Brotherston at Dalbeattie Star, was one of the goal scorers as they got a really, really big result against Gretna, 2-1. Down in the Borders in one of the derby days. Conor Graham netting the other one for Dalbeattie, and Jake Smith getting the consolation for Gretna. But it's not a great run of form Gretna on just now, but that's given Dalbeattie a shot in the arm after a decent start, not getting too many points on the board, but being pretty competitive. I think they badly needed a win in this one, especially. Like we built it up as an old-fashioned 6-pointer last week, Rampant. So you got anything to add on that one?
It's obviously bragging rights, you mentioned as well, but it gets Dalbeattie out of the relegation zone, which I think they'll be chuffed with. But again, it's worrying for Gretna. They're getting sort of pulled down there. It'll be interesting to see where they can sort of pick themselves up, especially with the sort of cup games coming up as well. But in terms of the league, it's a wee bit concerning for Gretna. But you know, we've got as we say, they've got a full season ahead, sort of to pick things up. I don't think they're going to be down there. Hopefully for them, you know.
I find Gretna quite surprising because every time I've seen them in the past, they've obviously got the sort of nucleus of the same side that they had last season, obviously with a few changes. And when obviously we went down to play them at Raydale midweek a couple of weeks ago, just after they'd been beaten 6-1 off Vale of Leithen, who are one of the stories of the season for me so far, but I'm sure we'll come on to them later. But we could not put anything past Gretna. They were organised, they had, you know, it was obviously a really defensive performance because they wanted to make sure that they built on that. And then they go into their next game and lose, and they've obviously lost here as well. It's an interesting one for me because it's hard to see how much difference there is between their side last season and their side this season, and especially when they're able to put in performances of sort of defensive strength like they did, to be in a situation where, not necessarily in this game where I'd imagine between Dalbeattie and Gretna it could go either way, but certainly in games where they're losing maybe 3 or 4-0, it's very strange, and it's a sort of display of inconsistency, but I could not put my finger on it, having watched them, what it is that's going wrong for them.
Mm-hmm. I think the only thing that jumps out, and I think we might well have touched on this previously, is Kevin Conley's not been scoring the same amount of goals that he did last year, and they did rely on him quite heavily with their season last time round. They're not scoring as many, from what I can tell.
No, that's true.
But
yeah.
Is there anything else that's jumping out to you, Rampant?
Yeah, it's a fantastic result for Darren Kerr's men, and it'll be interesting to see where they go from here. Especially, obviously, we talked about the travel, stuff last week, Mozza. Obviously, they've got a decent result against Gretna, who are kind of sort of one of the closer teams to them. It'll be interesting to see what happens when they're, playing further afield. So we talked about last week, Muzz, about Edisport, how they're sort of coming on now. Obviously a 2-0 win over Vale of Leaf, and Scott Ferguson and Jordan Alexandre getting his first goal. But they're up to 5th. They're quietly going about their business, and they're looking really good for sort of top half of the league at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, when we talked about it the other day, we said how they've slightly changed their approach, that they're basically building a core of experienced Scottish guys and maybe one or two guys from south of the border as well, and basically using their students coming in as depth and the best ones getting into the first 11. It seems to be working for them, definitely. So Ricky's obviously got them well drilled, given that he's not had much time with the students that have came in. And when you have a look at the other boys in their team though, so they've still got the likes of Rafi Christian at centre back, who at this level is a fantastic defender. Liam Coogan's up front, who we'll all know from last season. So yeah, it's been a decent run of form for them, certainly. And they're, like you say, they're kind of going slightly under the radar just now. I don't know if they're getting all the credit they deserve, but if they keep going, you'll certainly see them pointed out a little bit more as the season progresses.
Yeah, and just on Vale of Leaf, and obviously they're kind of sort of mid-table, so I don't think the result against Edisport will be that worrying for them. Obviously, we talked that they might do a wee bit better than they did last season, and I don't think they'll be too shocked at the result of Edisport as such. I think they can obviously press on as well. So,
story of the season, Clarkson, jump in.
I mean, yeah, for me, I mean, I'm going back over the results and I'm thinking maybe I was slightly too jumpy to get that one in. But I think if you're looking for an exciting game in the Lowland League and you happen to be hanging around Innerleithen for whatever reason you might be down there, you should definitely go along and see Vale of Leithen, because I'm looking at this. They've got a 2-0 defeat against Edusport. They lost 4-0 to Kelty. They beat East Stirlingshire 2-3. They beat Gretna 6-1. They lost 4-3 to Oakley United. They lost 5-1 to East Kilbride. They went 4-1 down 4-1 and then won 4-2. Like, they're huge scores, and sometimes they're on Vale's side and sometimes they're not, and it's unpredictable. It's exciting. It's going to be, I mean, if it was me and I was looking to get into a club in the Lowland League, in terms of like going and following them, and I wanted rip-roaring excitement that could be, agony or ecstasy every week, I'd go and see Vale of Leithen. Cumbernauld Colts obviously weren't in action this weekend as they had originally been scheduled to play Selkirk, and Galliferdine Rovers weren't in action because East Kilbride were playing in the Iron Brew Cup, the exciting and wonderful Iron Brew Cup, against old Lowland League boys Edinburgh City. Have either of you guys ever got along to Ainsley Park or Meadowbank as it was to see Edinburgh City?
Yeah, I went along a couple of times when they were in the Lowland. Actually, I was fortunate enough to play at Meadowbank as well, but that's another story entirely because it wasn't football. Obviously Edinburgh City were very reminiscent of what Spartans are now. They were really solid in defence. Big Joe Mbu was our main man when I went to go and see them, who was just an absolute colossus of a man. But it was a real interesting kind of game in prospect, and I think it lived up to it in the end with the 3-2 scoreline.
Absolutely. I know that East Kilbride had a bit of a hoodoo with Edinburgh City, and obviously in the end they weren't able to put it right, and they went down 3-2 with a couple of late goals from Alan Smith. But it was encouraging, I think, for East Kilbride. Edinburgh City are obviously sitting top of League 2 at the moment, which is fantastic for them, especially, and that says something about the Lowland League as well, that they're able to come up and within a couple of seasons challenge, just while I've got my league hat on. But, it's encouraging for East Kilbride that they were able to go and turn around a 1-goal deficit going into half-time. Ross McNeil and Craig Malcolm on the score sheet again. I'm assuming once an East Kilbride game kicks off, you guys write McNeil and Malcolm score and then just wait to see if they actually do, right? 'Cause it's...
Yeah, pretty much. Especially Ross McNeil.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the Iron Brew Cup's been a bit controversial this season in terms of what it's meant for Lowland League sides, but it's good to see that East Kilbride have managed to come through and give a team in the division above a really good run for their money. So we'll see, hopefully next season, that there's going to be more developments that are going to be pretty exciting.
Yeah, so that basically rounds up all the action from the weekend then. And I mean, I know we always have a look through the Twitter feeds of the clubs and see what's been going on off the field as well as on it. It might just be a state of my current mental state, but the thing that jumped out at me this week was a picture of the cake once again at Edinburgh Uni, as we've spoken about previously on the podcast.
Those
pretty
cakes,
phenomenal, to be fair. But yeah, we thought we'd get some more interaction with everyone that listens in to us every week, because the last couple of weeks you've basically listened to myself and Rampant just kind of go on about our own opinions and about the clubs and so on. So this is where you guys come in. Basically, we want to know what club in the Lowland do you think has the best catering on offer, be it cakes or pies. Healthier alternatives are apparently available, although I don't tend to partake in them, so I'll need your...
I was going to say I've heard rumours about that, but I've never been interested in them myself.
Maybe I should, but hey-ho. But yeah, I tell you what, Rampant, you've been to a couple of games this season at different grounds. What one's jumped out to you so far, mate?
You're probably the wrong person to ask, mate. I've not eaten much at the grounds because due to my strict vegetarianism, as you know.
Indeed, and your liquid lunches, I do forget as well.
But I don't know. Whitehill had a few decent cans of Coke, I think. So. Yeah.
Bear in mind, this is a man that could not find a pub in Edinburgh, Michael. So.
Yeah, fair point. Yeah, I did think that. Like, he struggled to find a can of Coke in a village. But anyway, I think there's, like, to be fair to, like, given what I was saying earlier about volunteers and stuff, the fact that everybody in the Lowland League is able to do catering and put on spreads and hospitality and stuff like that is amazing. And the fact that a lot of the time it's so good is just really, like, testament to the amount of passion that people have for the clubs. And I mean, I know I'm talking about, like, I'm literally standing here talking about pies. But it does, like, I keep trying to stop myself saying that all of these things are done with love, but it's true. There's, like, going to Edinburgh University and seeing, like, the sheer array of cakes you can eat that they've laid on, because why not? It's fantastic. It's incredible. And going to, you know, I'm trying to think of other examples. It used to be that you used to go down to Selkirk, and obviously that's not going to happen anymore, which is a real shame. But Cherie down there would have laid on, like, the most amazing home bacon as well, and a lot of the hospitality that you get at a lot of clubs. I mean, obviously when I go, I kind of do the kind of prawn sandwich brigade thing because I'm working. But even, like, a lot of the guys that work on the catering stands at the clubs are doing an amazing job. And I don't want to rank the best ones I've ever had, because I want to keep that in a locked notes file on my phone, and never let anybody see it. But I would be really interested to find out as well what everybody thinks, kind of like the best pie in the Lowland League is as well. That would be cool.
Well, there you go. There's your challenge, folks. If you've got a club in mind that deserves a shout out, given we're talking about volunteers and all that kind of thing, let us know who deserves a wee shout out and a bit of praise for what they put on, and yeah, we'll go through it on the next catch up while we're rampant.
Yep. And just to note, by the way, I don't know if it was a Kelty or a Shire fan, but someone told me that you can actually get a pint at Spartans, which I was absolutely glad at. I thought it was just coffee and whatnot, as I mentioned. So I was glad. You can get a pint at Spartans apparently in the clubhouse or whatever.
And of course, the man from Fife brings it back to the thing that's not allowed inside the ground. So moving on.
Yes, well, I mean, it is always worth stating that these places usually have a good social
absolutely.
club as well, and you always get a friendly welcome as well, which is great. So,
right, I'll let you go on then, Ramp, and you can finish us off with the next week's fixtures and so on.
So going into the weekend's fixtures, no Lowland League football unfortunately, but we do have Lowland League teams in the South Challenge Cup. I don't know what the hell I just heard there, but
It was a boo.
It was me booing because there's no Lowland League football.
all right. Start off with Friday's game. Cumbernauld Colts, who have obviously had a bit of a break recently, they're against Arniston Rangers at home. Majority of the games are obviously on Saturday. It's Lochmaben versus Kelty Hearts, East Kilbride versus Bowness United, Edinburgh Uni versus Oakley United, Gala Ferradine Rovers versus Musselburgh, Civil Service Strollers versus Upper Annandale, BSC Glasgow at home to Eddissport, Dalkeith Thistle versus University of Stirling, Vale of Leithen versus Jeanfield Swifts, East Stirlingshire versus Glasgow University, Dalbeattie Star versus Sauchie, and Whitehill Welfare versus Gretna. So what are your thoughts on some of them fixtures, guys?
It'll be interesting to see again, kind of like the earlier slate of cup games we had a few weeks back, how the Lowland League teams and quite a few former Scottish junior teams come together again. There was a mixed bag of results last time, and it was really, really tough to predict, as the two of us fell foul of. But I think the one that sticks out when you have a look is actually a kind of couple of Lowland teams coming together, BSC and Edgysport, given that we've talked about Edgysport doing their business quietly and BSC starting to get some wins on the board, so that looks as if it could be a cracker. But is there any other ones, Michael, that you think that your kind of eyes drawn to?
I'm excited because I'm going to continue on my kick of constantly talking about Vale of Leithen. I'm excited to see how they do against Jeanfield Swifts. Obviously, Jeanfield Swifts had this fantastic 4-1 win in the Football Nation Cup over East Kilbride, which I think probably a few people that watch the Lowland League regularly and don't know a lot about the US would have been surprised about. But given that earlier on I said that Vale could easily beat anybody by any number of goals or lose by any number of goals, I think that's going to be a really, really exciting match.
There's a couple for me. We'll start with the two Lowland League teams. It's Whitehill Welfare versus Gretna. I think that'll be an interesting one because given the sort of league positions of these two teams, that could be that might give us an indication of how the sort of battle at the bottom of the league is going to go in the next sort of few games. Obviously Whitehill, off that 1-0 defeat against Spartans, and Gretna coming off that defeat against Dalbeattie. But there is another one that interests me, sort of thing. It's Lochmaben versus Kelty Hearts. Lochmaben are probably the only team on that list that I've never ever heard of. So I've done a wee bit of research. Obviously they're in the south of Scotland. So just by Wikipedia, this is it's one of these ones, just to make sure that I'm not coming across as ignorant here. So Lochmaben is a small town and civil parish in Scotland, and I like this, a site of a once important castle, to begin with. But what interested me about it was the notable people. There was a guy called Angus Douglas who played for Chelsea and Newcastle United in the 1900s. Have you heard of this? Angus Douglas, anyone?
Good old Gus Douglas. I know him well. I used to go and see him before I regenerated last time.
So I thought that was interesting that they had a player who actually, I think he played for Lochmaben 100 odd years ago, obviously, but playing for Chelsea and Newcastle as well. So yeah, an interesting one between the Lochmaben and Kelty Hearts. The fact that they've produced such great talent, I think it's going to be a Lochmaben victory over Kelty.
And you've been listening to A Potted History of Scottish Football with Rampant FM. So that's us pretty much covered everything again, I think. So it gets to the point now where we do our usual thing and plug just before we finish up. And I think the right thing to do is let Michael go first, given that he's our guest on the show. So where can everyone find your good self?
Well, my one-man show will be at the Edinburgh Fringe next year. No, obviously I'm on to talk about the league and talk up the league, and I hope that I've done a good job of that and nobody's sitting going, don't like that guy. So obviously, come and find us. If you don't follow us on Twitter already, follow the Lowland League at official SLFL. You can find us on Facebook under, I think it's Scottish Lowland Football League. You can obviously find us on the website. There's loads and loads of regular features on the website as well. Between the roundup, the catch up with yourselves, the previews, there's Tales of the Lowland League Virgin, which isn't nearly as seemly as it sounds, and there's obviously Lewis Anderson from The Sun and many other papers does some fantastic interviews for us as well. So there's loads of great stuff going on right across the internet. So go and follow us, and if you want to follow me to get my horrible hot takes on the world, then it's Great Collapso on Twitter.
Right, Rampant, jump in.
Oh, I'm sorry, mate. You'll have to wait for your plugs this week, I think. So yeah, I'm at Rampant FM on Twitter, and you can also find me on YouTube. It's your time,
Already?
I know how you love it.
At Moza Plays on Twitter. You'll find me anywhere and everywhere from my Twitter feed. And I would actually, now Michael's mentioned it, I'd really recommend Alistair's Lowland League Virgin columns, because I've been keeping up to date with them every time and they're really good. And make sure you drop him a follow on Twitter as well. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but I'm sure there is a link.
It's Gone AWOL. It's GAUNAWOL.
There you go. The man with the answers ready to go. So make sure you drop Alistair a follow as well.
So that pretty much wraps up the Lowland League catch-up. It was obviously great having you on this week, Michael, and
it was my pleasure. And sorry, I was going to say just thank you to you guys for doing this. And obviously, I don't want to fawn over you too much because that's not my personality. But you do a fantastic job with this, and thank you so much.
So that brings an end to another episode of the Lowland League Catch-Up. We will not be back next week. We're actually going to be back in a couple of weeks. So the next couple of weeks are going to be cup games. So a good time to sort of take a break, reflect, and whatnot. We do appreciate the support, and one thing is I do appreciate Michael Park coming on today. We had a really good laugh with it, a really good time. I think he done fantastically well. We were kind of putting him off a wee bit sometimes, so me and Moz are used to doing this by now, so you done really well, Michael. Personal thanks to the Kelty fans, the Shire fans who I spoke to on Saturday. Sean, who's an avid listener of this, always gives good feedback. I spent the game with him. Also got to meet Bill from the Shire, who's a fantastic guy. And the guys from Kelty that do a fantastic job. Scott, Gary, and Dean, who I managed to catch. I know he was quite busy, but I do appreciate you obviously introducing yourself, or me to you, sort of thing. And just on that note, congratulations to Tam Course. I hope your testimonial dinner went well, mate. I did see some of the players obviously suited and booted before I left on Saturday. Yeah, exactly what we want, interaction from fans, whatnot. Even when we're not at the games, I must say, I mean, I don't really advertise as much as my mate Moza, who obviously has his t-shirt. Hopefully he doesn't mind me saying that. I'm a bit more incognito, but I do appreciate the support from everyone and the feedback, especially from the guys at the club as well, knowing that they're enjoying this. It means the world to us. But yeah, we'll see you in a couple of weeks. We'll be back with the Scottish Cup results. Just remember to keep up to date with the club's Twitters, keep up to date at slfl.co.uk, the Lowland League Twitter, Facebook, basically everywhere you can, and of course we'll see you soon.